Hi, everybody. This is the special meeting of the Community Connectivity Grant Committee of Thursday, October 14th. It is 4:06 p.m. This meeting is being recorded on WebEx for the town website. With us today is our design engineer, Kurt Patrona from BSC Group, Frank Pappalardo from the committee, Eric Olson from the committee, myself from the committee, and Tim Griswold, ex-officio. Thank you guys for coming. I know it's a busy time of the year, but just as a update, we're going to really kind of get into it in a second with Kurt, so I don't want to spend too much on this. But we're really going to be have a lot to do at the next month here. Next is public comment. I do not see anybody on the public on the computer, but in case there's somebody there, this would be your time to speak up. Is there anyone from the public there? Okay, hearing none, we'll get right into the update. As you know, when we met last month, we had already started the regulatory process through the town. We had the 824 referral. We were going into the tree commission. No, I think we had met with the tree commission. That's correct. But subsequently, we received the letter from Inland Wetlands that they had no jurisdiction. The day of our zoning meeting on Tuesday, we received the information from the DEEP on the CAM proposal that they had no issues, really. And there was feedback from the town engineer, and Kurt will mention that was very minor. And we, all the fees were waived, so we didn't incur any costs. Let's see. We had two members of the public who spoke regarding the project, and we can talk about that as we get into it. But those are the big items. We have successfully gone through all the regulatory process to move the transit hub forward from the town's perspective, and Kurt is starting the process with the state. And that's all I have as follow-up and update. Unless you guys have any questions. I know Frank was there on Tuesday. Thank you, Frank. I would just like to add, before Kurt starts, what an outstanding job he did in preparing for all these. There's a lot of paper, getting them done on time. There's a tremendous amount of copying that has to be done. And each permit requires a little bit more thought and input. They're not cookie cutter, and they required the plans and design. And I can't thank Kurt enough. As far as his presentation on Tuesday, it's as expected. I mean, Kurt is terrific with the public, and we are so lucky. His presentation was just succinct, and it was very positive, and it was in a good, he listened, and the questions from the commission were interesting. Nothing he couldn't handle. I had a couple of questions that surprised me, but they certainly didn't seem to surprise Kurt. And his designs, the blow-ups that he brought, really helped the commission learn about the project and appreciate what we were trying to do. So I just want to thank you again on behalf of the committee.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And thank you, Frank, also. It was a good team effort.
Definitely.
Okay, Kurt, and now you're on. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah. So I guess what we can do, because really the transit hub is the focus, but we'll talk about a few other quick things. With the transit hub, couple of things that we do need to discuss with the committee, fairly minor items. I'll start with the letter from Thomas Metcalf. And we had stated that at the zoning meeting that we really didn't have any issues with anything he had talked about, and we don't. But I wanted to mention a few of the things he did recommend, and there's a few things that I'd like to get feedback from the committee on. I will be working on these plans tomorrow, and the goal is to have the plans completed and ready for submittal to DOT on Monday. And we have coordinated with DOT. They are waiting for the plans. They know that they're on the way. We informed them that we did receive the approval. And I also informed them that I had reached out to the contractor to try to start talking about schedule, which we have not heard back from the contractor yet. That as soon as we had the schedule, we would provide it to DOT for information and for any concerns that they may have. So I'll just walk through his letter, and he prepared this letter on October 7th. He wants signage to be posted at our new driveway entrance and exit point at both Swan Avenue and Colony Road that says that the driveway is for public transit bus use only and not for public vehicular use. So what we would do is use standard DOT sign mounting, which is already actually part of the project, and we would have a sign graphic. I would try to find an existing sign. I suspect that there's probably nothing like that off the shelf, so they'd have to get the signs made. We would by design not make them large signs. They'd probably have to be a little bit larger than your typical no parking sign. Otherwise, the text would be so small. But I would try to keep them pretty small. And then we could even talk about what color we wanted them. You know, we want to try to minimize the visual impact. You know, so maybe we even pick something like a white sign with black lettering, or, you know, as opposed to, we don't want something that's bright red, almost like, you know, a one-way do not enter sign is by design is obnoxious. We want to try to, as best we can, still make the sign effective, but make it visually, you know, to me, it makes sense. I just wanted to confirm how the committee felt about that.
Kurt,
Fine, not a
Kurt,
problem.
do we have to put per order of the selectmen, something like that?
No, because it's a in this case, because it's not a public road, the enforcement becomes a little bit interesting. It's not backed by state statute. I mean, if you wanted to, you could, but I don't think it really matters because it's town property already.
Well,
you could
one
have
thing,
that.
you know, formerly around that property, there were telephone poles blocking any cars to get in there for the most part. So I guess if the bus lane has the rope and so forth, or whatever's that'll keep people away from parking, you know, driving in and parking somewhere off the road, trying to get to the beach. So it'll be more or less like a guardrail effect with the improvements we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, there's two locations that people would be able to park. One is along the gravel driveway itself. And then the second would be the grass area that will essentially remain undisturbed to the north of the gravel driveway. That's just going to be open, flat grass.
Yeah, because we don't want any vehicles in there at all, because people will try to park in there to get to the beach.
Yep.
So that's why the public transit use only is good. And we would be giving tickets to people who pulled in there and tried to leave their car somewhere thinking, oh, we're waiting for the bus. That's a bogus.
Yep. One thing that is just a bit of a suggestion is, I think these signs are fine. So if somebody tries to pull in there, they see the sign and they, you know, what you could also do during the summer months, and in particular, maybe on weekends, have temporary signs that you deploy that you either stick them in the ground or like sandwich boards that you place on the north side of the driveway in the grass area that says no parking, vehicles will be towed, or something like that.
Yeah, we have those down. No, please have
Yeah.
those already. So
And then
as far as
that way-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that way you don't have, I mean, you could put permanent no parking signs in there, but now we're starting to get sign clutter, and it's sort of, we're trying to achieve that park-like effect in here. And during the winter, who really cares, right? Nobody's gonna wanna park in there anyway. So I like the idea of the movable signs when they're seasonal, if you will.
So we have the color combinations that we've been trying to stick with down on Hartford Avenue area, so we could talk about that. So
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
great idea.
we're definitely trying to coordinate the colors so that we don't have everything under the sun, and that also contributes to the sign clutter.
Mhm.
Yeah. Frank, do you have any pictures or anything of those signs?
Sure. Yeah, I'll get you some.
That'd be good, because I'll emulate those for these, so things are consistent.
Tim, did we have any parking issues this summer since there was a cut through, the road was there? Did the police ticket anybody in there?
I'm not, I could ask Matt Weber, but we can deal with the temporary things and hope that that doesn't become a problem. I'm just thinking through that wherever I mean, they park all the way down on Champlain Drive, so, they're desperate.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't see any. I mean, there may have been an isolated car parked up there, but I didn't see any cars parked in there at all
Okay,
this summer.
good.
Okay, so we'll include those signs, and yeah, Frank, if you could get that to me tomorrow or something, that'll be great. Again, I'm gonna try to have this ready to
Put a
drop off.
note to myself, but if you don't see it by 1, 2 o'clock, you might want to shoot me an email.
Okay, will do.
Okay.
Another comment that he had was, currently our driveway aprons are concrete. And then they essentially, the concrete essentially abuts, the gravel driveway. And we selected concrete because it's very durable, and, just, it looks a heck of a lot
Mhm.
nicer. When they form these aprons with bituminous material, it's sort of hand formed, because you can't really get a paving machine to put in an apron because of its size and the way it's configured. It's not like it's a long linear run of pavement. So they tend to be almost hand built, and they never come out that great. And then they don't last. So that's why we went with the concrete.
Mhm.
He is suggesting that we change them to bituminous concrete, and he says that it'll be easier to construct since our bus pad is also concrete, is also bituminous concrete, bituminous pavement. And he says it'll save a little bit of money. Personally, I think you're better off sticking with concrete. It matches the rest of the project. It will look good for the next 20 to 25 years. Um, it's just better. It just looks a lot nicer. We have the money. It's part of the grant. It's already baked into Martin Laveriero's fee. Um, I think you'd get a lot better quality. I was very pleased with the way that the aprons got laid out on the rest of the job. I think they did a nice job on them. I think they look good. He did it as kind of a suggestion. Um, my recommendation is keep the design as is.
I agree.
I do too. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, I agree there too. We want the longevity, we want the lack of maintenance. And concrete will do that. Didn't he mention something about increasing the size of those?
Yep, that's the next comment.
Oh.
Really, it's only one of the aprons needs to be extended a little bit. We actually extended them to the property line, And he is correct. The regulation says to the property line or 15 feet, whichever is greater. So one apron just needs to be extended a little bit, which is fine. It's very small change.
So just so for the minutes, I just want to make sure that the committee is just, there's consensus to keep it concrete because we had made a motion to that several meetings ago. We're just reasserting our agreement to that. And then with the apron extension, will there be an increase in cost then?
I suspect there will be, but I will reach out to Dan to
Okay.
find out what that is, and I expect that to be really minimal.
Okay.
Because you've got such a huge economy of scale. You're talking probably about another extra yard of concrete,
Okay,
and the guys are already there. It will already be dug out.
okay,
So yeah, I don't anticipate that would be much at all.
okay. Thank you.
And I'm
Do
actually
we-
just
Do we
failing.
need a motion or do we just need to concur that we agree with?
We've already agreed on it, so.
Well, I mean,
So I think we just need to concur.
with the extension, we're just agree with
Oh.
our town engineer's advice, right?
Yeah, I think we all agree on that. I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you, Eric.
I just scaled it off. It's literally a matter of a couple of feet to hit 15.
Okay.
Got a phone, somebody calling in a phone. Is that you, Jim?
This is me. Sorry for being late.
Hi, Jim.
Hi.
I'm gonna rename you there.
Let's see. That was really it. He talked about the fact that things have to be to DOT standards, a couple of town standards. That's fine. He mentioned that because it's by the town of Oline, no bonding for erosion control is required, and that it's probably subject to DOT review, which we know it is. Oh, and we did appraise them to the status of review. He mentioned that. So that's really it. Very, very straightforward. We'll get all these incorporated tomorrow.
Right.
So to reiterate, we'll get these modifications in and then have this to DOT on Monday. The last comment came from the commission, and this will kind of segue into the discussion of sort of the property lines and such. So the easy part is right now we have the screening on the south side of the Pina residence and the Reese residence. And there was a gentleman there, was it from the Sheffield residence? Is that?
Correct.
So
Correct.
he had inquired about, apparently there's a fence that's falling down. Long story short, the commission made it a condition of approval that we would essentially keep the same number of trees that we have for the screening. And essentially we have 26 trees total between the two properties. And we're going to redistribute those so they not only go along the two east-west property lines, but now they will also go along the north-south property line between the town property and Pina and the town property and Sheffield. So we're not adding any plants. We're just going to redistribute them.
Yeah, I read that today, the zoning commission minutes, and they didn't actually say the same number of trees. They just said a green barrier. That's it. So
Okay.
we're not confined to a number. We're not limited,
Okay,
or
good point.
so we can just say a green barrier. That's
Okay,
it.
so at worst, it'll be the same 26. At best, we'll reduce the number.
That's right.
And I gave my landscape architect the heads up. I'll be working with her on that tomorrow to lay that out.
We're gonna
Thank you.
try to find something with a narrower footprint, Kurt.
We actually talked about that. So we talked about we talked about a lot of options. So in the evergreen family, because we want these to be evergreen. They did feel that the abrevieties would be subject to damage by deer. They said that these cedars are sort of the next step from abrevieties in that they're deer resistant. Nothing is deer proof, right? If the deer get hungry enough, they'll eat anything, but they will not go for these first. But they also don't get that wide. And they said, unlike, let's say, a conifer tree or something, which at its base is going to get, 6-8 feet wide, they said these won't do that. Now, given enough time, right? That's the thing with planting. In 20 years, could these things, well, abrevieties can get pretty big too. So I just want to stress that in the next 10 years, these are not going to be. And they said, let's say in 5 years, somebody said, oh boy, those have done really well and they've kind of grown a little wide. They can be pruned. So in 5 years, if the town said, you know what, this year we're just going to go in there and prune a foot off of all those things or whatever, they would tolerate it.
They're prunable. Okay, that's good.
You had to, yeah. They said absolutely they would tolerate it, not a problem. And then as far as height, they said, these things aren't going to get 30 feet tall. They're going to continue to grow. But again, they said, if at that same 5-year period, you said we're gonna hack a foot off the top and then reshape it, not a problem. They'll fill in, they'll look fine. They do take to pruning in that regard. We want to be maintenance free to the extent possible. Obviously, we don't want something that's going to have to be regularly pruned. So I'm talking, 5 years.
What are these called again? What are these called?
So we have 2 types: Western red cedar and Eastern red cedar. Now, the other interesting thing is, now that we're sort of creating a single row, if you will, maybe we want to consider just going with a single species. The only reason we had this separate is they're 2 separate properties, just to try to give it some variety. But, I could say of those 2, which one's the cheapest and which one's the smallest. And we'll just use all of that if you like.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then it's one type. Then the only limiting factor is the nursery. Do they have enough of them? But usually they do.
Kurt, are the owners aware of the barrier effect to any view line or whatever? In other words, if these things fill in and block a view, are they properly warned at this point that that's going to be the look?
I don't know the answer to that.
Tim, at our last meeting, when we discussed that, we wanted to see what the requirements were to come when we went through the zoning. So at this point, we need to have conversations with the homeowners they've all gotten the copy of the plans, the diagrams, so that they have been duly informed that way. But we haven't had any of the formal conversations with them other than the email I had from the Lishings, whose renter does not want trees, but they prefer a new fence. And I think Frank had said he spoke with the Pinas at the picnic last month, and they were in favor of the green barrier. So that's as far as the conversations have gone, to my knowledge.
So there are 2 houses here involved, is that right?
It's a total of 3, Tim. There's the Pina, and he and I spoke a little bit about the barrier, and he said, yeah, that's great. The Lishings, who Mary Jo spoke with, and they prefer fence, which we decided at the last meeting would be acceptable too. And then Mr. Sheffield at the meeting on Tuesday night was okay with a green barrier, some sort of green barrier. So we
Okay.
kind of had conversations with all three property owners. We probably should go back and revisit those conversations.
Yes,
Um,
yes,
At least two or three of members of the committee should be there at the same time.
yes.
And then just revisit them once we know what kind of, whether we're going with Eastern red cedar or Western red cedar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do need to talk to them because I'm sure Kurt, that's next on Kurt's hit parade. We have to talk about the fence, their fences. So
Leashing's fence.
the leashing fence and the
Different fence, Tim.
existing fences that are already there that are on town property.
If we put up the trees, do we need to fool with the fences though?
We definitely do with the pinas for sure. Because it's significantly on town property.
Yeah, if there's a fence on town property, Tim, I think we should remove it and replace it with the green barrier in the proper location.
Yeah, just get rid of the fence.
Yeah.
So that's a great segue. So I think we had previously talked about this one on the south side of the Pina property where we're proposing plantings. Their fence is on town property. To the point as you move west, it's about 10 feet onto town property. So we can have that removed, turned over to the fence owner, and plantings put in, and that's it. And then if he wants to reinstall it on his property, he can. I'm assuming it's his fence and not the town's.
Yes, that's his fence.
Okay,
The white one is his fence, not that old brown one. That was
okay.
the black one.
So would you like me to include that on the plans for the contractor to remove?
I think so. And that's what we did with the other ones, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, unless landowner says, hey, I don't care about it, get rid of it.
And do we want them to turn it over to him in case he wants to reinstall it on his property?
Yeah,
Most definitely. Yeah. Most
Yeah.
definitely.
All right, that's good. And then the other fence, this is at the Reese property that runs east-west. That fence, it's a wood split rail fence, is also on 100% on town property. And is that the one where they already said they wanted that removed? Is that correct?
they would prefer getting a new fence, like a white, fence like the Peñas have. And
So on that one, if you'd like, we could have the fence removed. And we either could turn it over to them and say, hey, here's your fence. It's, piled up over there. You got to get rid of it. Or we could have our contractor get rid of it. You will pay for that, but it is an option.
Just remove it and give it to them.
Okay.
That's the easiest, simplest thing. Remove it, give it to them.
Yep.
Very good. Okay.
That we're talking about fences that are presently on town property, right? We're not going on.
That is
individual
correct.
property. Okay.
And these are the fences to confirm that run in an east-west direction along the south side of each of those properties.
But you're contemplating installing a new fence for them on their property, leashing?
No, the fence will be removed and the plantings will be installed, and that's it.
Well, I thought you said leashing wasn't getting plants.
Lishing prefer the privacy fence, Kurt, so we could discuss that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So they would prefer the privacy fence versus plantings. So,
Oh,
and that would probably be less expensive. So we need to really sit down with them, I think, and determine which kind of fence they like, and so that we can incorporate that into Dan's quote.
so for the plan set that goes to DOT Monday, do you want me to just put in their fence, or because we have the approval?
Either or.
Because right now we have approval from the commission for trees. We would have to obtain approval potentially to switch to a fence.
I thought we agreed that we were going to do either or. And we-
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal, but because it's been recorded where they made that motion about the plantings. We just want to make sure we cover our bases, or not
they're
the,
We're looking for adequate barrier, so we can have that discussion, but I think we need to give the DOT an either or situation. We can,
Yeah, I think the issue with the plantings was to redistribute the plantings, as I recall specifically the commission's words.
yes.
And on the plans, it does say, it shows that the fence, as I recall, may stay or may go. So I think we're okay with that.
Yeah, and on the DOT plans, I'll just, because frankly, DOT doesn't care. I'll just say fence or plantings.
Yeah.
And
in
then just
fact,
let me know.
at our last meeting, we did talk about whether the Lishings might want the fence. Maybe we were talking about putting a few trees up or something, so it wasn't going to be the big line effect. So I think we do, if that's a possibility, to include that into the map.
For the lishings, right?
right?
Correct.
Wouldn't it
Absolutely.
be either or? I mean, you wouldn't want to do both, would you?
No, just a few decorative, like maybe one on each end or something. So it's not just,
Not just a plain white
yeah,
wall,
yeah,
maybe, yeah, you're right. Maybe one or two in there to just break it up, but
Yeah.
certainly be less expensive than a whole bunch of trees. That the way trees are going these days.
What do you think your timing may be to get a confirmation from the lishings? And the reason that's important is I want to be able to send Dan a succinct summary of the changes to get pricing. And then that will go right into his change order, which hopefully I'll have done next week so he can really get this schedule. He's got to get going. Is that the kind of thing that you think we could get feedback from them in a few days?
Yeah, we could probably, I mean, I could get a hold of Joanne and see if they're available.
Yeah.
On Sunday. I'm not available tomorrow, but Sunday, maybe we could take a quick walk up there if somebody else is available.
And then just get a feel for, even if you send me a picture of something you grab off the internet of, hey, this is the kind of fence they want. That's all I really need.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming we'll make it like a standard 5-foot fence.
Yeah.
Okay. The one thing that we need to be aware of is the availability. That fence probably would not go in until the spring.
yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, we saw how long it took to get Mr. Hurahan's fence, and
Yeah.
things have only gotten worse since then,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
But we'll do, if it goes to that, we'll do the best we can. Okay,
We'll try and get hold of them.
thank you
Frank,
for that
if you
clarification.
Frank, if you talk to them, just send an email out about what time they might be around on Sunday. I should be around.
Sure. Oh, that'd be great. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
Just let us know. The committee know.
And then the last sort of fence issue relates to the north-south property line that passes along the west side of the Pina property and the Sheffield property. On the Pina property, there is a 5-foot fence that is on town property. It's actually a continuation of the fence that's on the town property. Oh, did I say on town property? I'm sorry, on his property. And then the fence is deteriorated as it moves north on the Sheffield property.
Mhm.
From what I can see from the mapping, and because the fence is not continuous, say by comparison of the Pina fence that runs east-west, where it's obviously there, it's standing, the surveyors pick it up. The fence that runs north-south is pretty deteriorated, so it doesn't show up as well on the survey. But from what I can see, the fence is not on town property.
Yeah.
It may be on the property line, but it's not on town property.
Okay. And that
So
came up last night in the commission meeting briefly, and one of the commissioners said, Mr. Sheffield, you could put your own fence in. You could have done it yourself. So I did drive by there myself, Kurt, last week, and the fence directly behind Mr. Sheffield's is down. I mean,
Okay,
it's just down,
there's no fence, so essentially then there's no fence there?
pretty much.
Okay,
Yeah, but if it's not on town property, I don't think we should start going down to his property and, no.
You know,
Yep,
he is
agreed.
getting the landscaping or bushes that he requested to, so. it's
And that landscaping will go on town property, just inboard of the property line.
Okay.
Okay, so that sounds actually pretty easy, since there's not even a fence there. It certainly makes it easier. And then the fence that is on the Pina property, we won't touch it because it's on their property. We'll just leave it.
Right. And it'll be buffered by the trees anyway,
Yep.
so.
Yep. I'm trying to think, besides the schedule, which I'm extremely anxious to hear from the contractor on. We'll get these changes made. We'll get this into DOT. I suspect DOT will turn this around extremely quickly. There's not much there for them to really comment on. And frankly, it hasn't changed a lot since we sent them the preliminary design. And it's pretty simple stuff, and I know that they're in favor of it because of they like to see the good use of the grant money, and it's public transit. So, they're certainly in favor of this. This is the really good aspect of the project. So
Thank
I
you,
don't
Kurt.
expect that review to take that long.
Kurt, the fence that we're just going to give you an example of what we might put in if we have available funds for the lishings, and it sounds like we will, but does that change the cost to Dan Levesque to put that in at any?
We'd have to get a price from him. So if we reduce to the plantings and say put in a couple of the decorative, just a few decorative trees or something.
I think it might balance out.
Yeah, because I know the price of fencing just keeps changing almost weekly. So
Okay.
we're going to want to know, and don't forget, not only is it the fence material, it's a separate installer, right? Separate crew, probably a subcontractor. So we really want to understand what the cost of that would be.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Kurt. Is there anything else before we move on?
I think that's it on the transit hub.
Great.
Yeah.
Just quickly then, as far as the punch list, have we heard from him about the decorative signposts?
We have not, and I have the punch list in front of me, and that's when I sent that email hoping that he could get on a call with us.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to walk through the punch list, all the outstanding items, and then schedule, and that includes the change orders and the decorative signposts. So at this point, we have no information from him. So it's really important that we get on the horn with him.
Okay. Do you want me to send him a note? Would that help at all?
That would be very helpful. I was going to say, I'll email him again. But yeah, if you could send a note, and you could even take mine and forward it and just say, Dan, we really want to keep this moving. Can you please get a hold of us?
Okay.
I'm not sure if this is on this punch list, but that curbing they installed around at Cross Lane, they never backfilled it with loam and seeded it.
Interesting. So we will add that to the punch list.
It's just curbing and then there's empty space there.
Okay, that absolutely should be backfilled with loam and seed.
Thank you. Good to know.
And we squared away with Teddy's issues.
Yeah, that was the next thing.
Sorry to keep jumping the gun here. I don't know. I don't know what's that.
I know. I'm going to just hold on it for a second. I won't forget, but I was going to ask Tim, have we heard anything on the Portal Lances? Because I want to make sure that Dan Levesque knows he's not going there.
Haven't heard anything after the letter, so they are aware of what needs to be done. They should be. So I would imagine they need to get going. I could give them a ring and ask them where they are with it.
Okay. So Kurt, we just need to make sure when we get a hold of Dan that he is formally, maybe you already did this, that he needs to skip that property.
Right.
And then Teddy, what we learned on Teddy late last week is that verbally the DOT approved the to cover the cost of the work on his driveway or his where people are eating that we talked about last time, and repave it because they have to come back. Martin LaBerre has to come back and move that curbing so that it's on town property or DOT property. So they have to come back and move that, and at that point, then they'll come and do that work. We're basically going to cut out a piece of the asphalt and then build it up with, some grading material and then asphalt it. So I imagine we need to get a cost from Dan on that also, Kurt?
Yes, and to find out, is that something that is already covered or is that an extra? So
Right.
let's bring that up in our call.
Okay. All right. So that's where we're at with Teddy. Teddy and I did speak on Friday, I think, or Monday. I can't recall. But he is aware, and that there was a DOT inspector there for, I'm not exactly sure why, but he had some washout with the rainstorm last month that he called the DOT on. So it may have been the person that was coming out about that at his as an exit from his restaurant. But I talked to this person and basically told him where we're at with DOT. So at least he's been communicated with, that we know we're going to get approval, but we just need to get cost at this point. Right. Bus shelter. Joe Comerford needs to know that we got approved for the bus shelter. Tim, do you want to give him a call and find out when that can come and all those good things?
Yeah, I can give him a call. I'll be speaking with him.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
So, to your knowledge, it's been ordered and it's due to come in at some point?
I have no knowledge that it's been ordered. All he told me last month was that he had just found out about our project a couple weeks before that. He asked, he said there was money in the budget to send us one. I told him we were going to go through the approval process. So now we are approved. So now he needs to plan on delivering it.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other questions on this stuff? Because I know we're getting close to the bewitching out here. Okay. Invoice approvals. Kurt and Tim, the 2,500 design services amendment that the committee approved Tim to sign, or it was dated August 31st. Has that ever been executed? Tim?
I
Look and
received
see.
a copy.
Oh, it was?
What's that?
I have not received a copy of an executed version.
So that was for design services at that time. Now that we have to do a little bit more modification of the plan and the fact that you needed to do a full inland wetland permit design, do we need to modify that estimate, Kurt?
Yes, at this point, do you mean the design estimate for bus shelter?
For 2,500, it was design services. It was dated August 31st, and we are saying we thought it could carry us through the end, but
Right. Yep. Sorry. I just wanted to, sometimes I start confusing myself between them.
I didn't pull it out tonight. I was giving myself a note.
Well, aren't we on time and materials? I mean, do we have to keep doing amendments to cover, or do we just keep track of where we are without having to do amendments every time?
That's a really good point. I'm fine either way. And I know I've had some clients that say, stop with the paperwork. You know, I just do it because I want to be open book and full disclosure and, you know, but I'm actually fine either way. Yes, at this point, with the first zoning meeting, it went a little bit longer than I had anticipated, and then Tuesday night went a little bit longer than I anticipated.
8 hours too long.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, and then as I mentioned, I did not expect to have to fill out a full wetlands application.
Right.
That's pretty unusual. Um, in fact, we almost made it, but then Kim said, no, I think we better be conservative and you just have to fill out the full application, even though there's no wetlands.
Mhm.
That took a couple of hours. You know, it's not, none of these are big things, but they all add up. So, I apologize that, you know, with the 2 zoning meetings and the unexpected wetlands application, we did end up burning through that 2,500. So yeah, it will be a little bit more. Really, the good news is we're pretty much done, right? As once I hit send on Monday, um,
Okay.
that's it, right? We're pretty good. I already have the change order drafted up for Dan,
Okay.
and some of these minor communications with him are, you know, in little 15-minute increments. So
Well,
the
if
good
we
news is
did,
we're close.
if we went with time and materials from now on, would the invoices be clear then that it says it's a design cost versus an inspection cost? So we know that it's covered versus not covered?
Yes, because the way I have it set up is for the transit hub, it's a standalone invoice. So that way it's completely separate from the time and materials for the base project, if you will, and B, completely separate standalone invoice from the design services during construction. So yeah, it will be very clear, and I'll continue to give you a detailed table that shows the exact hours, which category. So it would continue in that way. So if you're okay with that, I'm actually okay with that.
You know, it would be a big help if you just maybe put in there also grant eligible, grant ineligible, or something like that, because
Sure
sometimes
can.
words change from, there's different terms, it seems, once in a while. So just, that's very helpful.
Okay, we absolutely can do that.
Yeah.
I'll also suggest something else that we've done in the past that I'm happy to do. And that is because we're time and materials and there's not, you know, we're only going to be at this hopefully for another 4, 5, 6 weeks. I am happy on a weekly basis every Friday to send you a budget update under each of the 3 categories. That looks very similar to the invoice. Again, it's just a table that just says, you know, for a week ending, we'll use this week, for week ending 10/15, here's your breakdown of charges. And it's that same table, and it shows the hours and the costs. And that way, every week, you've got a consistent tracking of how monies are being expended. And then the next invoice would simply be an accumulation of those 4 weeks. And the table that would be in the invoice mathematically would just add up the 4 weekly, you know. I'm happy to do that if that might be part of your documentation, if you like.
Hmm. I don't know whether weekly is that necessary, but
You could do bi-weekly. That
yeah,
most of the times we've done bi-weekly, and that way, because we typically invoice every month, every 2 weeks you have an accounting of what's been. 1 week it's the summary, the following period it's an invoice. So we could do bi-weekly too.
mhm.
Just for my edification then, on the amendments, amendment number 1, which was design consultant during construction. basically took us to the end of July. That's amendment number 1, 2,500. We've expended that. Design, is that correct?
Yes,
Because I haven't been updated from town about, BSC design and permitting services for the transit hub. Amendment number 2 was 2,500. We expended, we've used that up.
correct. And the good news is we're close to done on that, so it won't be much more.
And then the design for the transit hub, which was the 6,500. Did we use that at this point?
Yeah, and that goes right with the 2,500. That was to sort of bolster that budget. And that's because
Okay,
the survey
okay, all right,
cost
all
more
right.
than we thought.
Okay, so the 2,500 amendment 2 that I just said we used is not going to be called amendment 2. It's just going to be time and materials.
Correct.
Okay.
Specific to the transit hub.
Okay, correct, for the transit hub. Got it.
Yep.
Okay, so to date, the ineligible costs for BSC group are 26,500. Anything, so I guess what I need to do, since we were trying to keep aware of what our costs were, is just, if you can then give us an estimate of how much will be required to, in your opinion, to finish this. And I'll just call it time and materials estimate on our budget sheet.
Absolutely.
Thank you. The other thing on our budget sheet that I wanted to ask about, are there any outstanding regular invoices that haven't been covered yet? So I can,
Well, we have requisition or application number 2. Is that cleared to be paid or no?
He still has not sent that to me. So we'll bring that up when we eventually get on the phone with him.
It came in here. They signed off on it in July, and I guess they called again today saying, what's up? And
Yeah, I had a conversation with Dan and told him that because he was charging you 100% for the sidewalks, when in fact, based on the DOT, he is not 100%, that we can't approve it. And he said, not a problem, I'll revise it and resend it. I don't know if you've received that revised version.
well, that was some time ago, that discussion, right? It wasn't
Yes.
just,
right.
so, I mean, I still have the same 47,007. I've seen nothing as an adjustment to that.
Okay,
initially.
so it sounds like he has not provided you with the revised version that he said he would
Well, he
send.
should really send the thing to you for sign off as opposed to directly coming here, because I got to get it back to you to sign off and all that stuff. So
Right.
maybe we need to have him comment on, does he have a revised number for the 47.7 to be slightly lower? And he should ship it to you for your sign off, and then it comes here and we'll pay.
Yep,
Right.
that's fine. And I can confirm that I have not received that revised payment application number 2.
I don't believe we've seen it either.
All right, so we'll
And-
remind him when we get on the phone with him.
Okay,
You should
and
get
then
that.
typically the committee approves payment of stuff, so
Right,
there can be another step. Unless we say whatever the amount you approve is okay to be paid, depending on how frequently the committee will meet.
Right, so that's kind of what I was asking for. Do we have any outstanding invoices for this meeting to approve for you, Kurt?
Yes,
But what we do?
well, I mean, this hanging chad for the application number 2.
Oh, yeah, no, outside that, not Martin Laverio, but for BSC group. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear.
Okay,
Do we have any for BSC group?
I think it is, yes, bear with me. So I believe there, and please, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong. I think there are 3 invoices. I'm just going in order of the email. Invoice number 914-5518. Email, or well, dated 9/9/10. In your email 9/12, I believe, in the amount of $1,533.75, and that is the base project construction inspection grant eligible charges. So
Can we
that's the
take them one
first.
can we take them one at a time?
That's
Yep.
all the same one.
Absolutely.
I know, but he's got 3 more or 2 more. So I was just going to ask the committee if they're comfortable with that explanation for that charge, if we can approve Tim signing this invoice. That's again, 1,533.75 for the base project, and it is grant eligible, so it needs an okay to be approved for payment.
I'm fine with it.
Thank you, Frank. Can I get a second?
I'll get a second on that.
Thank you, Eric. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks. All right, Kurt. Got a couple more.
Yep, so the next one is invoice number 914-5534,
Mhm.
dated 9/13/21. Emailed same day, 9/13/21, and this is for the design services during construction, not grant eligible.
Right.
And that invoice is in the amount of $763.75. Covers the period through 9/4/2021.
Thank you. So again, committee, this is grant ineligible. So it is a municipal cost for design services during construction in the amount of $763.75. This is all part of, would that fall under amendment number 1 then, Kurt?
Yes, I believe it does. Yep.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion for
Thank
that.
And I'll second it.
Thank you, Frank. All in, or any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, it's unanimous. Thank you. And lastly,
So this is Transit Hub,
mhm,
invoice 914-5536,
Mhm.
Dated 9/13/21, in the amount of $7,016.76. One of the reasons that may sound, wow, that's a big one, is I hadn't billed for a little while on that one, so that's like almost 2 months worth of stuff. And that does include the survey,
oh, it
and I
does.
believe, yep, and I believe that also includes that includes all of the permit packages and all those things. So that's why.
Okay.
So that's really, this invoice is really the bulk of the Transit Hub.
Okay,
I think our first invoice was pretty small. This is the one big invoice you'll see on the entire
Okay.
Transit Hub.
Eligible or not?
This is not grant eligible as design services.
and that, that should be covered under the budget we had already
That is correct.
allocated. By my question to Tim on this one, Tim, with the survey for the easement on Shore and Hartford Avenue. The selectmen budget did pick that $1,800 up. Is there any of this that the selectmen budget could pick up for this survey? For this is a
Well,
survey
I think we're
for,
going to be going for a pretty good size additional appropriation for this project. And I think at this point, we should just put into the appropriation all that we need. At the moment, we have the $400,000 in the spending side. And so part of the job will be to craft what the appropriation amount should be to cover all aspects of it, including the trees and everything else, which is going to be, a pretty good amount. So I think it would be wise to go for the whole amount. The selectmen's budget doesn't really have a lot of fluff for, I don't know, how much is the survey itself? Probably couple, 3,000.
I
Well,
believe what,
I think that's what you told us at one.
I think, and it's 3,500, I think.
Yeah.
I can get you an exact number if that's helpful.
I mean,
Right.
that's really, the town had bought that property years ago and didn't survey it, is my point. We didn't have a survey, and so.
Well, that's okay, but it's part of the project. What's the difference whether you ask for another 3,000 or not? It's being done as part of this project,
Well,
and
I'm
there
just,
is view survey money somewhere that Frank knows about. But at this point, we got to account for, we have to provide funding for a lot of this stuff that's eligible, ineligible, and that's will be an appropriation, and it's going to be a town meeting.
well, I really, I mean, I don't want to delay this discussion for Kurt, but I do think we should discuss that because I think as a taxpayer, I'd be curious why the selectmen budget picked up one survey and not the other.
Shouldn't have picked up the other survey. So,
You told us you did. I have it, I took it off our eligible cost.
Mary Jo,
We'll
talk later.
Yeah, okay. Always open to that. So I'm asking the committee to approve Tim signing off and paying. And again, Kurt, I'm sorry for the delay in these. $7,016.76 for the transit hub ineligible costs.
I'll motion for that.
Thank you, Frank.
Second.
Thank you, Eric. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. I guess that's that. As far as the other items on the budget, I think I informed you on our budget where we had an estimated $800 for the regulatory approval process for town hall. Those fees were waived, so that'll be zero when I send out the next version of this. But going into today, for the ineligible costs, we were at 36,227. Taking out that 800 brings us down to like 3,500 and change. And we'll have to see about any of the other costs, but as we've already discussed, those costs for the trees, those costs for the fencing, those are all grant eligible. Anything else on the budget, guys?
I just had a quick question for Tim, just so I can understand. Tim, if we just say our ineligible cost of 40,000, just to round up, and if we don't use all of the grant because we get everything done and we don't spend, and we come in at say 375 on eligible, does that mean we don't have to go to a town meeting because we would only be then going, if you add the 25 plus another 15 over, then we just ask the Board of Finance? Is that how that works?
The Board of Finance can only approve up to $20,000 for a certain line item.
Yeah.
Above that, town meeting.
Yeah. So my question was, if we only spend 375 of the grant, and the remaining 25 that you budgeted 400. If we don't go over that 20,000 threshold, it's not a town meeting process, is what that's what I was
Well,
asking.
the grant money is on the income side, and that has nothing to do with the spending side.
Yeah.
You have to focus on the spending side. The
Okay.
project has a total amount of money of $400,000.
Right.
So in order to exceed that, for whatever reason, the Board of Finance could give another 20,000 bucks. Once you pass that threshold, then it needs to be a town meeting. And as I was saying, if we're quibbling about a particular charge, if we're going to go to a town meeting, this project would have, we might as well get the costs included as opposed to trying to push amounts of money into other pockets, which we did in the early stages. So I think we're going to be over that, and it's going to be very important that we accurately create what the amount is so that we don't ask for too much, but we don't underestimate, because if we would
Okay.
do that.
Yeah. All right.
Kurt, if I may also ask you, I received an insurance certificate from Ames and Clough of Quincy, Mass, which names the town of Old Lyme as a certificate holder, and it says insured as BSC Group. Is this something from your company to the town for some reason that you're showing us proof of insurance?
Yes, and it's probably because the insurance got renewed. I think some of the policies expired 9/1, so it's probably just a new certificate to show that we are still fully covered per the terms of the contract.
Okay,
Yeah, my suggestion is keep that with the contract file.
okay.
Yeah, you'll probably receive those, once a year. I wouldn't be surprised if you receive one next year, in fact.
All right, thank you.
Okay, if there aren't any more budget questions, we'll move on to approving the minutes of 9/21. There, anyone want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Eric.
I'll second.
Thank you, Frank. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Unless there's anything else, are we comfortable waiting on our next meeting till we get some feedback from Kurt?
Yeah, I think until we get information from Dan and Kurt, really not much more we can do.
Okay, all right.
I do have one question before we
Sure.
adjourn here.
Sure.
Kurt, when you did the A2 on that property, did they pin it?
I believe that the existing monuments that they show are there. Let me just open that up, because there were existing monuments that were found.
Okay.
Okay, here it is. Yeah, so there's enough monumentation out there that's noted on here that you can retrace, or, in the field, find the corners. I'm looking at it now. Yep. So there's iron rod, concrete monument, and iron rod, concrete monument, or stone monument. Yeah, so there's enough out there where you can recreate the property.
Possible to send that to us as a PDF, so that when we do meet with the homeowners, if there's any question, we can point right to it.
Absolutely. Mary Jo, I'll send it to you for distribution.
Okay, great. And I
What-
know the actual one was delivered to the town.
Oh, good. Okay.
Would a Mylar go to the town clerk?
I don't think we did Mylars, did we, Kurt? I
Yeah,
think it-
you don't necessarily need a Mylar. You can have the digital file because it's not a property transfer or a site plan, but you could ask her and see what she wants.
Okay.
everything went up to zoning for the Kims. Okay. All right, then I will take a motion to adjourn, and I'm sorry we're a little over. But thank you, 5:17.
Make the motion to adjourn?
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Frank. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Thank you guys again.
Okay, have a good night, everybody.
Great night.
Okay, see y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.